So what if I told you that one of the most important pieces of technology in the world started out as just a simple holiday project? Well, that's exactly what happened. Today, we're going to dive into the incredible origin story of Python.
Okay, so let's get right into it. If you've ever glanced at Python code, you've probably noticed it almost looks like you're reading plain English. And you know what? There's a really specific reason for that, and it all goes back to the very beginning. And get this, here's the first big surprise. Unlike a lot of other major technologies, Python wasn't cooked up in some giant corporate lab with a massive budget. Nope, its origins are way more personal than that.
To really get why Python even exists, we gotta jump in a time machine. Let's go back to the late 1980s and imagine you're a programmer dealing with a very common and very frustrating problem.
See, back then, you always had to make a tough choice. There just wasn't a perfect tool for the job. And programmers, including this one guy named Guido van Rossum working at a research institute, they felt this pain every single day. So here was the big dilemma, right? On one hand, you had languages like C. Whoa, super powerful, you could do almost anything with them. But man, were they complex. You spend ages just wrestling with the syntax. Then, on the other hand, you had shell scripting. It was super easy for quick little tasks, but try building a serious complex application with it? No way, not gonna happen. You were stuck between power and simplicity.
Now, there was this other language floating around called ABC. And it had some really elegant, cool ideas about simplicity. But it was basically a closed box. You couldn't easily add to it or use it for your own real-world projects. It was like a little glimpse of a better way, but it just wasn't the final answer. And Guido knew it. He knew there had to be something better.
And that feeling that there has to be something better, well, that's what sparks our next chapter. This is where a little holiday project starts to become something huge.
So let's properly introduce the man of the hour, Guido van Rossum. And you've got to understand, he wasn't setting out to change the world. He was simply a programmer who was fed up and thought, come on, there has to be a more enjoyable, a more efficient way to do this.
And this is my favorite part of the story. It's December 1989. The holidays are here. Most people are kicking back, relaxing. Not Guido. He was just looking for a fun project to keep himself busy. So he starts tinkering with a brand new language, just as a hobby.
His mission was crystal clear and absolutely brilliant. He wasn't just making another language for the sake of it. No, he was solving that dilemma we just talked about. He wanted something that was 1, easy to read, 2, easy to write, and 3, and this is the kicker, it still had to be powerful enough to build real, important things.
But this simple mission led to something totally revolutionary. It wasn't just about creating new features, it was about creating a whole new way of thinking about code itself.
And this really gets to the core of it all. Guido believed that a programmer's brain power should be spent solving the actual problem, the logic, not wasted on remembering whether to put a semicolon here or a curly brace there.
And this shows the difference perfectly. Before Python, code was often just cluttered with all these symbols that were really only there for the computer's benefit. Python just flipped that on its head. By using simple, clean indentation to structure the code, it forced the code to be readable for humans first. Such a simple change, but wow, what a massive impact.
Which brings us to the absolute #1 guiding principle of Python's design, the one idea that defines the language even today.
Just let that sink in for a second. Code is read more often than it is written. That means you should optimize for clarity, for making sure other people can understand it later. It's not just about how fast you can type it out. It's a philosophy for building software that lasts and that people can build together. And honestly, it's not an exaggeration to say that. This focus on the human reader, not just the machine, set a completely new standard. It influenced so many other tools and languages that came after.
So the big question is, how did this little holiday project, built on this one simple idea, become one of the most important technologies on the entire planet? Well, after that quiet beginning in '89, Guido released Python to the public in 1991 as open source software. He basically just put it out there and said, hey, anyone can use this and help make it better. And from that moment on, its growth was just unstoppable.
And the reason it blew up wasn't some huge marketing campaign, it was just word of mouth. Developers would try it, they'd fall in love with how simple and clear it was, and they'd tell their friends, you have got to try this. It grew from the ground up because it solved a real problem everyone had.
And just look where that one simple idea has taken us. Today, Python is the engine behind huge websites, it's the language of data science and AI, it automates all kinds of complex tasks. I mean, NASA even uses it for space research. It's absolutely everywhere.
all from that one holiday project. So as we wrap this up, let's just remember the heart of this story. Python wasn't born from some grand ambition to take over the world. It was born from one programmer's frustration and a simple, powerful desire to make something clear and elegant.
And that leaves us with a final thought. Guido van Rossum turned his own personal frustration into a tool that has empowered millions of people. It just makes you wonder, what everyday frustration in our own lives, if we just look at it the right way, holds the seed of the next big, world-changing idea?